everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today we're talking about how to maintain coherence in an incoherent world. This is sort of a corollary to the last video, which I didn't think was going to be so inflammatory, but apparently it touched on a nerve, and there's a lot of people who are very engaged in the idea that, you know, the legal system is entirely invalid because God's law is superior, or something like that, you know. And I don't mean to cast aspersions on anybody, but there's one thing that I'm really good at in life, and that's communication and understanding my audience and making sure that I am communicating my side effectively. And that is basically the basis on which I operate, is that I don't go to any extraordinary lengths to get mad at people or get emotional in general, because I have a set of rules that I operate by. I speak my piece, I speak it clearly, coherently, I lay out the things that I'm operating on, and if people, you know, respond positively to that and that makes sense to them, then that's excellent, you know. But if they don't, then I accept that it is not essentially on me. The burden is not on me, the burden is on them for, you know, essentially, you know, picking up what is being received. And so, you know, people often get emotional when, you know, they aren't accepted well by people, but at the same time they haven't really taken accountability for their own manner of communication. And so basically they essentially, you know, get emotional and, you know, charged up, and most people just get, you know, angry and frustrated when they feel like people don't understand what they understand. But how is anybody supposed to understand what you understand if you are fundamentally incapable of communicating it effectively? That is my question today. An ontological question that you should ask yourself, no matter who you are, no matter how good or bad you think you are at communicating, you know, even if you can't even speak, right, the principle still applies. How well are you communicating? And what exactly is your goal? Because if your goal is just to make noises and bleat like a goat, then by all means, you know, it doesn't matter how you communicate or what words you use or your tone or inflection. It's all completely meaningless because you don't even know where you're going, right? It doesn't matter where you end up if you don't know where you're going. And so it's just, there's so much incoherence in this world, and people are essentially not even taught how to spell words correctly anymore. They're basically just taught, you know, basically the verbal language. And so nobody understands the English language. Nobody understands grammar or spelling or syntax. And they think it's inconsequential, but it is not inconsequential. It is highly consequential, especially when you understand that the only words that will outlive your body are the words you have written down, and words that were written down so well that other people think that they're worth keeping around for longer than you were around to, you know, pump your chest up and down. And that's really the thing to understand, is that the words that are perfect will live on, and the words that are perfect, truly and in alignment with God and this universe and its very nature and structure, will live on forever. They will become part of the firmament and the cosmos because, well, they are just, it's as natural as a rock or a tree or a bird or or a rainbow, if you will, which used to be a Christian symbol, used to be a sign of the covenant with God before it got taken over by the LGBT, you know, alphabet soup crowd. On that note, quick sidebar, J.K. Rowling, who is like a raging social justice warrior, has now basically faced an exodus from like her publishing company by LGBTQ authors because they feel that, you know, she is basically anti-trans by claiming that biological sex is real and not something that's just, you know, conditioned into people, which is hilarious to me. Again, there's no amount of virtue signaling that will ever actually work for people in this world, where you have essentially satanic, commie-minded people that don't have any, you know, anchor or foundation in reality. Everything to them is a program. Everything to them is just a movie or a song or a feeling or an experience, but nothing has any tether to an objective structure of reality. And that is essentially what I am seeking to, you know, at least address, you know, if not remedy in some small form, by making these videos and communicating this. Because, you know, it's also a restatement of my principles each time, a refinement of my communication, right? This is kind of a practice round, if you will, for the conversations that I have with people. But at the same time, ideally, until YouTube bans me, or all the platforms ban me, hopefully I'll never get too wild for BitChute. I don't think that I'll ever get that wild. But, it's just, life is important. It has meaning, regardless of whether or not you consider yourself a Christian or a Buddhist or a Muslim or anything. Basically, it's important to recognize just the metaphysical basis of things and get beyond the English language in general, because people can be just as easily programmed by the Bible and their perception of the Bible and other people's conceptions of the Bible just as easily as the commies and the Satanists can get deluded by their gender-bending, alphabet soup theory of, biological sex isn't real, right? When you say, you understand the Bible perfectly and thus this invalidates all of the legal system and, basically this or that about the material world, right? When you're basing your fundamental understanding of reality on the Bible and the Bible alone, especially when it is an allegorical book subject to numerous different translations, and, hardly anybody speaks ancient Greek, so, it's not like anybody has the one single definition of it. What I am certain of is not my interpretation of the Bible, nor am I certain of the Bible in any of its interpretations. That's not to say that I don't have certainty that, Jesus Christ was the Son of God, even though that wasn't his real name, that was a title, And so we are all the children of God, whether or not we choose to recognize it. I believe that what Jesus really was extraordinary was, recognizing that and coming to basically serve as the messenger of God, right? Which is not something that is exclusive to him and him alone. That being said, the first person to do something really does kind of create an energetic bridge, in the morphogenetic fields, as Rupert Sheldrake would say. Once a thing happens, it makes it possible for that to happen throughout the universe on an etheric sense, right? Even down to the level of chemical bonding and, the temperatures at which, certain chemical compounds turn to a phase change from liquid to water to gas, liquid to solid to gas. These things are all subject to a flux, right? Even the big G, right? The constant of gravity is not a constant, and the speed of light is not a constant. Everything is in flux, and it's all basically on this equilibrium on the etheric plane. Basically space itself is not space, it's not dead and hollow, it is the ether. It has consciousness and it has a substance to it. And this is why they can't, they look at the cosmic microwave background data and they see, there's all this mass, but we can't see it, right? Where's the mass that we're seeing in our microwave background data? And, so the fact that they can't see it, they come up with this theory of dark matter, right? It's interesting how it's all just metaphysically resonant. The people who believe in dark matter and these scientists who believe in just moral relativity to complement their, general relativity, it all basically, it leaves you in darkness. And when you're in darkness, continuing on the theme of the last video, you are devoid of both physical and mental and spiritual power. And because you can't see, right? A little bit of light saves a lot of noise, right? A little lesson when you live in a house with sleeping people, right? Using a little bit of light saves a lot of noise. When you can see what you're doing, you don't have to be crashing around all over the place and making just, statements that get you, in trouble that you'd rather not be in, and basically, encounters and confrontations that you'd rather not be in. And people almost get into a lifestyle of it. It becomes a whole culture of just basically bumbling around and being a jackass. And it even was a television show when I was a kid, right? Jackass, of just people being stupid as a way of life. And, it's all part, again, of the sandbox of the universe that the Creator established, right? This great science experiment on the desk of the Creator between two electrodes of the absolute planes of positive and negative. And in between, we are the triangle, right? We are the interaction between the positive and the negative. And this is why the human frame and this planet is a very, very important focal point of the universe. Because we are very much at the avant-garde interplay of those cosmic forces. And, regardless of whether or not you want to subscribe to any alien conspiracies, that is a metaphysical fact, right? And it is the functioning of our star, the sun, is based off of that principle. It is the upfield and the downfield, the positive and the negative, interplaying in a toroid, hyperboloid, cosmic, basically, Chi-Rho structure, right? And this is exactly what the name of Jehovah, Yahweh, means. It is Yod-He, Vod-He, the up triangle and the down triangle, the twisting together and the creating of that pressure, right? That is the genesis of the physical plane. That is the cause for mass and space and volume and properties, right? Everything we know as an element is just a number, right? It's a number in this matrix, and it has different spins and its bonds to other, numbers based on its, charge potential. And that is what we know of as the physical world. That is the basis of chemistry and biology and physics and everything else. All of science is just the apprehension of that which is beyond language and numbers altogether. All we have as, the movie Lucy? Fantastic movie. All of our attempts at knowledge are just simulacra. They are just rough approximations, because the truth is beyond all of our ability to control it and contain it. That's not to say that we can't know it, but we just can't contain it. And so again, when somebody says they have, the perfect understanding of the Bible, and you'll forgive me when I take it with a grain of salt. Same thing for people who say they know what biological sex is, they know what the true meaning of the Constitution is, they know that what all the meaning of all legal terms is, and that they are not subject to anyone, and they don't have any responsibility to their fellow man, because they have freed themselves from the mental construct that they have a legal name, and they are it's again the one commenter who one commenter on the last video basically, I thought, enunciated it quite clearly about what civilization and society is, and essentially saying, take responsibility, right? This legal name fraud is essentially, radicalization against the West, propaganda, and it's demoralization. I was demoralized in the system, and there was a beneficial outcome. There's always a beneficial outcome if you approach things in good faith. And like I said, I dropped all the false trappings of egoism in my life. I reset myself. Essentially, I had an epiphany, a transformation on July 3rd, 2015, and I, married Space Panther, and I began an entirely new world and an entirely new life. And so that is the world that I live in. And again, to people who are like, oh, you're defending George Bush's legal system, and you're really a communist, that the type of communist that you're always talking down against. And it's like, you got to understand that the empire thrives on ignorant people who have no conception of sovereignty, right? You have sovereignty when you can act like a sovereign, right? That is what it means, and not just act as one, but really, fill out the shoes. And you don't act like a sovereign, first of all, by using incoherent language. Second of all, by not actually following up with your claims, that you do make. You act like a child, right? And a child is not a sovereign, right? A child, the mind of a child is close to God, but the part of growing up, right, that's also of God, and the rites of passage that, you become more accountable and responsible and reliable, that is basically also of the Creator, right? Being a child for your entire life does not mean you're, basically fulfilling the will of God. And it is basically, my job is essentially accountability. It's compliance, it's responsibility, it's checking all the lines and the code and the math, and making sure everybody's work is essentially in line with what it's supposed to be. And so, it's when they said that this plant was illegal because it's, immoral and dangerous, right? That was a fundamentally illegitimate society. Now my job is literally at the interplay between the new society and basically making sure that this holy plant, this sacred herb, can basically be delivered to the people in a safe and efficient and accountable manner, right? And that's a good thing. It is unequivocally a good thing. Do I agree with all the taxes and all the specific regulations? No. But I appreciate the opportunity that at least my society gives me an opportunity right back, to actually fulfill my destiny in this world, and to bring the ability of other people to fulfill their destiny by not suffering from pain and basically mental stress, and basically there's myriad different aspects of this one plant that just perfectly to me contains the mind of the Creator, and the substance of God is in nature. And so yes, the Bible is not my primary source document. It's not like when I evaluate a moral situation, or it's just any situation in life, my first thought is what does the Bible say, right? It's something that I check as a sort of reference just to see if I can validate what I know to be innately true. But it is not basically, I can't believe anything unless the Bible told me to, or basically this other person who says what the Bible says told me to, right? I am absolutely a Christian. I do believe that Jesus was the Son of God. I believe that he established a new moral paradigm on this planet that is now being fulfilled, and that is what Revelation was all about. Perhaps David Koresh did open the fifth seal, and now we are in the sixth and seventh seals of opening this world and revealing all that was hidden and creating the kingdom of heaven. But one thing again, for those who are all about it, the kingdom of heaven is not a place where people are all children. The kingdom of heaven is a place where all are sovereign and all are working in deference to the only cosmic sovereign, whom is God. So, and that objective reality and agreement thereof allows us to have technology, it allows us to have civilization, allows us to have peace. And so, again, I'm not railing against the old world, right? Even the most wild revolutionary, the day after the revolution, becomes a conservative. Think about that. After the revolutionary becomes a conservative after the revolution, okay? And that is true in my case as well, right? I feel that the door has been opened and the dam has broken in all the meaningful senses, and what is left is for us to take accountability and to just pick up the sword and shield and basically move forward to claim what is ours. And I mean that metaphorically, not literally, but in the YouTube, they'll probably ban me if I don't clarify that at this point. They're regulating Trump just for tweeting law and order. And on that note, I am very glad to hear the president back on the campaign trail. For all that it's worth and all that it will, ensue from all the brainwashed people, I stand with the President of the United States. He is not perfect, but considering what has been arrayed against him since before he even took office, I think he's done a fine job. And I am very much willing to give him another 4 years, and I will be voting as such, casting my irrelevant Californian vote, into the whirlpool. But things matter more than just the numbers, as we've been discussing. There is a metaphysical, etheric aspect of reality, and so when we speak the truth, when we speak our peace out into the universe, it has an outsized effect. And again, its effect is limited and determined only by the coherence of the signal. So when you think that it's irrelevant to actually coherently enunciate your points and provide the foundation of your operative beliefs, then you basically castrate yourself and you make yourself irrelevant as well, right? You are exactly as coherent as you believe yourself to be. And remember that there's a big difference between, an old burned out flashlight, right, that's got a dusty bulb and a laser, right? They can be using the same amount of watts, the exact same power, but coherent light versus incoherent light have absolutely fundamentally different properties. A laser can bounce off the moon, right? But try doing that with an old flashlight and let me know how it goes. So it's important to check your premises, be able to communicate yourself to others, and ultimately that will lead you on the path of your destiny. That's basically my operative principle, and every single day I see more and more evidence that it is working out, right? On that note, the sky is beautiful and clear. The Orgone grid, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the installation of the second cloudbuster, the major cloudbuster here in Sacramento. And it's, again, more than just clearing the chemtrails from the sky, and maybe helping people sleep, given the nature of their Wi-Fi routers and all their houses and the power lines and everything. Beyond that, it's the nature of human interactions. It's the substance of how we treat each other and what exactly we are building toward. Whether or not it is incoherent and destructive and leads to us all just basically abandoning ship, or it leads to us coming together, working together. And even if there's a mutiny, even if we have to change the captain, we still have to work together and understand that if we sink the ship, we're all going down, right? And so the old ship has already sunk, and I've already left that boat. I've left years and years ago, but the point to recognize is that I and we are now captain of a new ship, of our own new ships. It's not just one, right? This world is as infinite as we want it to be in the physical sense, knowing that we are all in agreement on the objective truth. Again, ironically, the one thing that all the multi-culti commies, right, can't agree on is that objective truth even exists. All the diversity is what they worship, diversity of appearance, because they don't understand that there is a objective structure to the universe. And the reason that the white man, the Christian white man, has achieved so much in the world in terms of peace and technology and opportunity, is because they agree on an objective structure of reality. And so, it's just important to stand our ground. I always check, even the people that I love and trust, I always check their work too. Nobody gets by on a free pass, because it's like a shield wall. We protect not just ourselves, we protect the person to our left and the person to our right. And that is how society needs to operate if it's going to survive what is to come. Because again, all of this is just peanuts and candy as a prelude to what the challenges that we will face, over the coming decades. That are going to be a lot crazier than what we're facing right now. So stand your ground, check your ship, swab the poop deck, and basically find yourself a good first mate, and basically just get your life in order, because ultimately you can believe all this or that, but the fact is in the end that everyone's beliefs and thoughts are meaningless, right? I don't give a shit about anybody's thoughts or beliefs. I give a shit about your actions and what you are doing to back up your thoughts and beliefs, because that is very interesting, and in which case I'm very interested to hear what you're all up to. But that's my video today, how to stay coherent in an incoherent world. Obviously, the world is very incoherent right now. When we look at the people who disagree with us, it's incoherent, but it's important also to look with the people that, you're agreeing with, and make sure that it's not turning into a circle jerk on your side, and that we're actually challenging each other and checking each other's work and checking each other's premises. Because, again, it doesn't matter whose feelings get hurt as long as the rocket ship makes it to the moon, right? We don't want a challenger situation, right? And anyway, that's my video today. Hope you guys are having a good one, and I'll talk to you next time. Cheers.